All across the American West, there's this quiet revolution happening. It's not in the streets, but right in our front yards. We're seeing this massive shift away from the landscapes we all grew up with towards something tougher, more architectural, and honestly, just way more appropriate for where we actually live. So let's dive into this golden transformation.
So this was the rallying cry from a water conservation campaign in Santa Barbara, and it just perfectly nails the new mindset. It's a pretty bold idea, right? It's asking us to completely rethink what a beautiful, healthy landscape even looks like, swapping out that thirsty, demanding green for a proud, resilient gold.
Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the end of the green lawn as we know it, and then check out the succulent solution. After that, we'll get into the amazing science of how they survive, see how they're used in design, look at the impact on water and people, and finally explore what this all means for a truly golden future.
All right, first up, we have to get to the heart of the matter. This fundamental clash between a beautiful, imported dream and a harsh, dry reality. For more than 100 years, the picture of success, especially in the West, was a perfect emerald green lawn. But here's the thing, that look was never natural here. It was basically an idea we copy-pasted from rainy places like England, which is totally at odds with the climate. The only way to keep it going was with these massive projects that piped in water from hundreds of miles away. Well, that dream is now officially unsustainable. I mean, when you're facing historic droughts, shrinking reservoirs, and a constant, terrifying wildfire threat, you just have to accept reality. The West is naturally more golden or brown than it is green. The old way just doesn't work anymore, period.
And that brings us to the solution, which is all about completely redefining what a resilient garden can even be.
So the official term for this whole approach is xeriscape. It was actually coined way back in 1981, and it comes from the Greek word xeros, which means dry. And it's not just about planting a few drought-tolerant plants, it's a whole design philosophy built around being radically water efficient.
Okay, we gotta clear something up right away. A lot of people hear xeriscape and think xeriscaping. A sad, barren yard with just a bunch of gravel and maybe one lonely cactus. That couldn't be further from the truth. Modern xeriscaping, especially with succulents, is unbelievably vibrant, full of stunning shapes, textures, and amazing colors. So what's the secret sauce? What makes these plants so perfectly suited for this job? Well, let's dig into the brilliant science that allows succulents not just to survive, but to actually thrive in the driest places on Earth. It all comes down to a biological superpower called crassulacean acid metabolism, or CAM for short. It's this incredible evolutionary hack that lets these plants pretty much hold their breath all day long to save water. And this is so cool. Here's how it works. First, at night, when it's cooler and less windy, the little pores on their leaves open up to breathe in CO2. Then, they convert that CO2 into an acid and just store it. Then, during the hot, dry day, their pores stay sealed tight, which prevents water from escaping, while they use sunlight to convert that stored CO2 into energy. It's an absolutely genius system for conserving every last drop of water. Okay, so that's the science. But how does this actually play out in the real world? This isn't just about biology, right? It's about using these incredible plants to design a more beautiful, safer, and more resilient West. And this is super important. Xeriscaping is not a one-size-fits-all deal. The plants you use have to be hyper-regional. So in coastal California, you might use the native Dudleya, which can handle the salt spray. Down in Arizona's crazy heat, the tough-as-nails agave parryae is a champion. And in the high deserts where it freezes, the red yucca is a go-to. It's all about the right plant for the right place. And there's a real design connection here, too. The bold, geometric shapes of agaves and aloes and yuccas, they're like living sculptures. They are the absolute perfect match for the clean lines and indoor-outdoor vibe of mid-century modern architecture, which is just so iconic to the West. The plants really become a core part of the architectural design itself. And this is critical. This kind of design is also about safety. In a place that's so prone to wildfires, succulents are a key tool in what's called firescaping. Because they're plump and full of water and don't have a lot of flammable oils, they're naturally fire-resistant. Unlike super flammable plants like pines or eucalyptus, succulents can act as a defensive barrier, creating a life-saving bubble of space around a home. All right, so we've covered the design and the science. Now let's get down to brass tacks. What's the real-world impact when it comes to water, money, and of course people? The numbers here are just, wow. A traditional turf lawn guzzles about 73 gallons of water per square foot every single year. A xeriscaped yard, just over 17. That's a massive reduction, more than 76%. You can literally see the difference. So what does that actually look like for a single family? Well, think about this. If you take an average-sized lawn in Southern California and convert it to Xeriscape, you can save over 500,000 gallons of water every single year. That is a huge deal for the water supply and for your water bill. But look, this big shift isn't simple. It comes with a real human cost. In Los Angeles alone, the traditional landscaping industry, which employs over 24,000 mostly Latino workers, is built on that weekly mow and blow model. When the lawns go away, so does that work. In response, you're seeing new programs pop up to upskill this workforce, teaching them sustainable design and irrigation so they can be part of this new golden economy. Okay, so finally, let's look ahead, because this whole thing isn't the end of the story. It's really just the beginning of a much bigger movement in how we build our cities for the future.
So right now, the big focus is on xeriscaping and just plain saving water. But what's next? Well, we're moving toward concepts like sponge cities, where our landscapes are designed to capture and reuse every drop of rain that falls. And beyond that, we'll see more urban rewilding to support wildlife and pollinators, all managed with smart, AI-driven tech.
And all of this leaves us with one final thought. For over a century, we tried to force this foreign idea of beauty onto a place where it just never fit. But now, as we adapt to a hotter, drier world, maybe we're finally discovering a more authentic kind of beauty, one that's tougher, smarter, and truly at home in the Golden West. What if the most beautiful landscape is simply the one that belongs there?